Hey guys, today we'll be creating this cool rotating text effect around the 3D object and make this cool intro in After Effects. Let's go. So the first thing we need to do is to create our composition. So we're going to create a new composition. I'm going to set it to 1920 by 1080, and then we're going to create our background. We're going to press Ctrl Y on our keyboard or just right click and new solid. I'm going to pick a black color. Click OK, and now we have to put it into 3D space because we're going to have to set our settings to advanced 3D. Classic 3D is not going to work for this because we're going to import a 3D object, an OBJ file, which is the only one that works at the moment in Adobe After Effects. So I've already imported my OBJ file here. So I took this from CG Trader. As you can see, you have to choose and download the OBJ file, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to this OBJ file. Now that we've set our scene to advanced 3D, let's import our OBJ file. I'm going to just drag it into the composition and then just place it somewhere in the middle. That looks good. I'm also going to spin it around to rotate it. Okay, I'm going to bring it in front a bit, then just adjust it a little, and I think this looks good. At the moment, I'm going to set the resolution to full so we can clearly see what we're doing. Going to fit the composition, and as you can see, our subject is blown out at the moment. This is because we don't have a light yet. So I'm going to just right click, new, light, and I'm going to set this to environment and click OK. I'm going to go then to the intensity tab, and I'm going to just lower it so our object looks good and it's no longer blown out. Now, for the moment, I'm just going to lock our background so we don't mess with it. And I'm going to create our text. I'm going to pick the text tool and then just type in our text. I'm going to align it to the center of our composition by using the align tool. If you don't see this, you can go to the window tab and then choose a line and it will show up. Now I'm just going to make a mask. Make sure your text layer is selected. Just pick the ellipse tool, then press Ctrl Shift, and this will make sure that the circle will start from the exact point where you place your mouse at. So I'm going to make it something like this in size. I'm going to go to the path options under the text, and I'm going to select mask 1 as our path. Now I'm going to adjust first margin so our text will be aligned something like this. Now I'm going to go to animate, enable per 3D character because we're working in 3D space, and now again to animate and rotation. Now I'm going to go to our rotation and I'm going to mess with X rotation and I'm going to set it something like 90 degrees. Okay, now just go. You can either do it like this. I'm going to press the V key to change our tool and then just rotate it the way we want. Okay, I'm going to drag it up. All right, and now we can just set keyframes for the first margin. I'm going to set a keyframe here at the beginning, and then I'm going to go like 2 seconds and just move this around. And if you don't know how to move it faster, you need to press the Shift key in order for this value to move basically faster. And now if you look at what we've done, something is not looking right because for sure our background is too close. And for this, let's just select our black solid and then move it back into Z space and then just enlarge it again. Now let's see. Perfect. Okay, so now our text is going around this 3D object. What else can we do now? Now we're going to go into the text properties again, and under geometry options, we're going to set the bevel style something like concave and the bevel depth something like 5%. And this will make the text look like it's carved out of stone. And also, if you want some extrusion, we can set the extrusion to something like 15. See, now it looks like it's really made out of stone. What we can further do to to make it look better is to add some noise. But we're going to add noise to everything, and for this we're going to create a new layer, and just click anywhere here and you'll be able to create a new adjustment layer. And then on this adjustment layer we're going to just add noise, and we're going to add something like 9%, I think. Okay, and now let's just work on our background. I'm going to press Ctrl-A to select every layer and then just collapse them. And now I'm going to go to our background solid and I'm going to add the grid effect. Alright, so I'm going to set the size to width and height sliders, and I'm going to set the width to something like 128, I think this is good, and the height to something like 200 maybe. Yes, I think this is good. I'm going to also add the glow effect, the deep glow effect, in order to create some interest in this. I think it just makes it more interesting. And I'm going to set the radius to something lower so it doesn't really pop up too much. Okay, I think something like 50 is good. And then I'm going to also add the lens distortion effect. You can use this, I'm using something from Red Giant, but you can also use the CC lens effect. It's going to give you the exact same effect. I'm going to set a keyframe for the edge right here at 0, and then I'm going to go around 2 seconds where our animation ends, and I'm going to set it to something like this. And now if we just play this back, our animation looks something like this. Okay, now something else we can do to make this look more interesting is to add a new camera. We're going to select 35 millimeters. Okay, and now if I press the C key, you'll see you'll get something that looks like this. So what I'm going to do is just undo this, go into transform, and I'm going to set the keyframe for everything. Now I'm going to go again to like 2 seconds where our animation ends. I'm going to take our C for our camera, I'm going to press C for our camera and then move it around to something like this. And with the 1, 2, 3 keys you can just scroll between the different options. This is the orbit tool, this is the move tool, and this is for depth. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to something like this, and I'm going to select our black solid and just scale it up so it will fill the frame, because it's going to give a very interesting look. See? And now we can also add something interesting to the background, like I'm going to create a new solid and I'm going to make it red. Okay, now I'm going to pick the ellipse tool and I'm going to double click it. This will basically mask everything and it matches the size of our composition. Now I'm going to go into the mask of this layer and I'm going to set the feather to something pretty high, like this. And then I'm going to change the blend mode to something like overlay or screen. It depends what you think looks best. I'm going to press T for opacity and just reduce the opacity. And we can also create a new adjustment layer, which we're going to set just above these 2 layers. And I'm going to add more noise to the background. Okay, I think something like 11% works pretty good. And now let's see our animation. Okay, I think this looks good. And if, for example, you want your animation to go slower, for example, you can use something else. We animated, if you see here, we animated first margin, but this is not the only way to do it. I am going to just erase these keyframes and I'm going to press Alt and click on first margin. I'm going to type the following: time times 800, for example. This depends on the length of your composition. The higher the number, the faster it will go. It animates it along all your composition. And if you want to move it counterclockwise, you can set it to -800. As you can see, this will move it counterclockwise. If your text is not rotating around your object, well, this might be because it's in the wrong position in 3D space. And let me show you how you can fix this. Well, first we're going to switch to the 2 views mode, and if you click on the left screen, you can see now it's set on top. It's exactly what we want, and we see that the text goes in front and behind our subject, but it's not really perfect, it's not really centered. And what we can do to fix this is, for example, we can go to our text layer, and we can see its anchor point is something like here. It's on the left side of our path. We can use something like reposition anchor point. This is a free plugin from AE Scripts. I'm going to leave the link in the description. You can set what price you want to pay, and you can set it to $0, and it will let you download it for free. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to select our text layer, and I'm going to set reposition anchor point to the center point, and then click on reposition. As you can see, it's moved to the exact center of the path. And now I can go to our object, and I can also check if it's exactly in the center, and it is. Now what we can do is go to this layer, press P for position, copy it, then go to your 3D object position and just paste it. And it moved in the center perfectly. Now let's switch to the 1 view. It just went a bit higher because the center, the anchor point is in the lower part of the 3D object, but all we need to do is just drag this down, and now our text is rotating perfectly around our subject. And I can see it's just a bit small, so I'm going to press Shift and S to add the scale here in the options. Just scale it up, then move it down, and now let's see the animation. Yes, it's perfect. Now, for example, if you want to add a second text, I'm just going to duplicate this text, press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and just drag it a bit lower. And now I can just rotate it on the Z-axis, for example, something like this. And because it's animated by the expression, the time expression that we learned earlier about, it will move from the exact point that we set. So this is how our final animation looks. I hope you learned something new, and see you in the next one. Bye.